Hey everybody, Dr. Chris Hood here. It is officially 6:30, which is time for us to get started today on our broadcast for cancer prevention. We have been doing workshops like this all year. It is not my favorite way to do workshops because clearly I would much rather be live and in person. But as we are working here, it is a pleasure to see you guys tonight at 6:30. And tonight we're going to do cancer prevention, boosting your immune system. Same basic. I'm going to put a shout out in the box. Hey to all, when you guys jump on, I know some of you guys are getting late out of work and you're jumping on after that. Make sure to comment and say hey as we go through this. So this workshop, I'm also going to put it on my YouTube channel afterwards. A lot of you guys noticed today that we were playing the YouTube channel in the back. So that's exciting, and so I got a couple cameras rolling on me now. But I hope you guys are ready. Hope you guys are enjoying. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you. And as you guys pop on, if I don't respond to you, it's only because I've got some notes that I want to go through. So cancer. In the United States today, it's important to know that every 30 seconds someone is diagnosed with cancer. 5,000 people every day as of 2020 are diagnosed with cancer, although this year they may be lower because they're all getting diagnosed with COVID. That's a bad joke, but you got me. 1,638,910 will be diagnosed alone this year. 1 out of every 3 people die from cancer. Almost 580,000 are dead a year, every year. So, as we compare that to the pandemic we're dealing with right now, and as awful as that is, we're talking about, 580,000 people every year, 577,190. That's a lot dying from cancer. And some of those cancers could be prevented. So we could argue that we should be doing a better job at that. 12,400 children and teens are newly diagnosed with cancer each year, and 1 in 4 of those die. So when we're really talking about cancer, what is the pandemic? What are we really talking about? Hey, Peggy, good to see you. A couple things about cancer. Interesting studies that I have read. Dr. Herbert Welch, who's professor of medicine at Dartmouth Institute of Health Policy and Clinical Practice, he wrote a book in 2011 called Overdiagnosed: Making People Sick in Pursuit of Health. If you guys want, you should read it. There's been New York Times editorials. In one of them, Welch said the current medical model is transformed into a high-tech research for early disease. It doesn't promote health, it promotes disease. People suffer from more anxiety about their health, from drug side effects, and complicated surgery. Here's what I'm getting at. For years now, people have been encouraged to look to medical care for the way to make them healthy. But Welch, in that book, Overdiagnosed, says that's your job. You can't contract that out. And I would argue going into this that as much as early diagnosis is great, because the earlier you catch it, the better your chances of survival are, there needs to be a national movement towards prevention. My grandmother had cancer, my grandfather had cancer, my uncle had pancreatic cancer, several people I love and care about had cancer, and when they find out they have cancer by a diagnosis, you guys realize that's a big hole to climb out of, because what do you have? Well, you've got cancer. Rather than doing everything in your life with your lifestyle, getting adjusted, eating right, nutrition, taking inflammation out of your diet so that you prevent it. So, in cases where it's not prevented, I get it, you got to do everything you can, but everyone should be doing everything they can to stay healthy. Grandma used to say it's easier to stay well than it is to get well. And so my workshop tonight is really going to talk about that, because really that's the message. I'm happy to be here, but I want you guys to know that my heart is always on teaching people to do everything they can to prevent it. So how do cancers work? Well, there's localized cancers. Those are ones that don't spread to the body. They rarely kill. Cancer normally kills because of something called metastasis, and that's the spread of cancer to other parts of the body. At the time of diagnosis, about 76% of lung cancers have already spread, 55% of colorectal cancers are spread, and about 37% of breast cancers have already spread. So by the time they diagnose it from biological markers, most of the time, a lot of the common cancers have already spread, and that's a challenge. Hey Chuck, hey Kathy, good to see you guys. So what we need to understand is that as we age, our bodies become more inflamed, or it's easier for us to become chronically fatigued. And for a lot of you guys like Chuck, some of the stuff you're going to know, some of it's going to be a reminder, but the greater the inflammation, the greater risk to develop cancer. So what we have to do is really concentrate on killing inflammation in our body. The one thing we need to know about cancer, I think, is really important, and this is from the University of Columbia's School of Public Health. They say that we're talking about genetics. People say, well, my grandpa had it, my dad had it, like me, my grandma, my grandpa, my uncle, these people I love, I'm genetically linked to, had it. Where we say it's a genetic disorder, what we know about it is is that 95% of all cancers are due to interference, diet, and the accumulation of toxins. This is according to Columbia School of Public Health. So where genes make up about 5 to 10% of the cancer, 95% of that is environment and lifestyle. And so we need to really think about that on a daily basis when we're making decisions for our health. Now, I'm not talking about once you get it. Chuck, a couple other people on this workshop are probably really masterful at once you get it, what do you do? But I'm talking about what do you do to prevent it so that you don't turn the genes off. You know, it used to be that we thought that genetics were a lot, you know, my grandpa had diabetes, so I'm just going to get it. My grandma had cancer, so I'm just going to get it. But the new study isn't genetics, it's epigenetics, which is the study of your genes turning on and turning off via lifestyle. If you get a chance, check it out, epigenetics. It's really important that you guys check it out because you have to understand you're turning your genes on and off by your lifestyle. So the first thing I like to talk about in any of my workshops is a basic nutrition platform to boost the immune system or get the immune system really working into overdrive. And one of the studies I thought was the most interesting study in the years I've been practicing, Duke University in 2004 did a study on chronic disease, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. They looked at like chronic diseases, and they found that one of the keys was having an alkaline system in your body. In other words, cancer, for example, if you read the study, survives in a medium of pH. If you know pH from pool chemistry growing up, if you had to check the pool chemistry and the pH like I did growing up, you know that cancers love a pH of about 4 to 5. So that's on the acid side of the scale. So I don't have the ability to draw on a Facebook Live video, but if you remember basic chemistry in high school, you got 0 to 14. From 7 to 0 on that scale is acidic. From 7 to 14 is alkaline or basic. So the more alkaline your systems and cells and tissues are, the better your immune system works. As a matter of fact, that same study from Duke University said the immune system functions best at a pH of 7.365. So people ask all the time, well, how do you get it there? And that's really where the nutrition side of this is basically you cut out processed foods, you cut out refined sugar and carbohydrates, you get rid of salt, vinegar, alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, dairy, meats, processed meats, soda, white bleached flour, and you start eating a diet that's 60 to 80% green leafy vegetables, plenty of healthy omega fats, low sugar fruits, and so we're doing that. There's some books on it, but really we want to alkalize the cells and tissues of the body. So you want to alkalize and energize by moving your diet transition to mostly what we would call a pH or a basic diet or an alkaline diet. Sugar is really the biggest trouble. Sugar feeds cancer cells, especially white refined sugar. When I was, maybe you guys know this, some of you know it, some of you don't, but I went to pharmacy school. First I went to pharmacy school at Purdue and PharmD from Purdue, the whole thing, and then I went back to chiropractic school. And one of the things, and while studying anyway at Purdue, PharmD, is they had an electron microscope there. And what I thought was so interesting about that is, with an electron microscope, you could pull blood out of your system, and you could actually watch like your white blood cells work and your immune system work. And so what they did for us, which I thought was amazing, is they pulled blood out of our arm, and you could literally watch under this microscope the white blood cells attack different pathogens in your body. You could literally watch it, it would attack it, it would engulf it, and it would eat it up. You could see it was actually pretty cool. It's a process called phagocytosis where the cell actually eats the bad stuff. Anyway, then they had us drink a 8-ounce glass of orange juice, right? Because it's not just for breakfast anymore. It's loaded with sugar. And we would drink the orange juice, waited about 15 minutes for the sugar to really get inside your system. Then they pulled the same blood out of your arm and they tested it again. And what I thought was so interesting about that was when they tested it the second time, you literally could see whatever pathogen your body was trying to fight, bacteria, whatever, and the white blood cell would just sit there paralyzed, like it couldn't even move, it couldn't attack it because sugar paralyzes immune function. In one of my workshops, I give you some more details on what, like a banana split. You know, if an 8-ounce glass of orange juice does it for 20 minutes, a banana split does it for like 4 hours, or a Coca-Cola paralyzes it for like an hour and a half. But understand, white refined sugar is the problem. Michelle Elizabeth Hayhunt asked about diets that you can cook with. I'll see what we can find. Dr. Danielle has become masterful at cooking for us all these years. So, but I want you to understand that one of the first things you have to do in this case, you want to alkalize the cells and tissues. You want to eat mostly green leafy vegetables and omega fats, but you've got to cut out sugar out of your system. White refined sugar especially, but if you're dealing with cancer, you should cut out all sugar. there are definitely books out there that you can deal with. And so understanding that is tough because sugar is addictive, and a lot of people get addicted to eating the sugar, and they like it, and they're addicted to it, and they just have trouble giving it up. But you've got to get rid of it because sugar cells feed on cancer, and I'm sure if you want to look up research on that after this, feel free to do that. You'll find it. So you want to get other junk out of the gas tank. I use automobile analogies. One of my mentors is big into cars. I like cars. I've rebuilt a Mustang in my garage, so I fall on that. But another mentor of mine, John Madeira, used to say, if you had $1 million racehorse, what would you feed it? If you had $1 million racehorse, what would you feed it? Would you feed it Burger King and McDonald's and Domino's Pizza? I mean, I'm picking on fast food restaurants, but really, would you feed it fast food? Or would you give it the best nutrition possible? Because that $1 million racehorse is important, right? Would you make sure it got plenty of sunlight and exercise? Or would you lock it up and sit next to a TV or on Facebook, all day long looking down at the phone? No, you take great care of it. But newsflash, ladies and gentlemen watching this, you're the $1 million racehorse. And what I see, back to the car analogy, is people take better care of their automobiles than they take of their own body. They get the oil change regularly. They rotate the tires. They do all this stuff for a machine. Your human body's a machine. It needs to be treated properly. So start realizing how amazing you are in the way you heal, function, and operate, and start taking care of your body like for what it is, the $1 million racehorse. It's encasing your soul. It's here for you, but you need to know how to process and how to use it, and stop putting junk in the gas tank. So you want to eliminate the white refined sugar. We talked about that. You want to eliminate trans fats, margarine, synthetic butters, hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated oils like cottonseed oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil, rancid oils like corn oil, canola oil, labeled vegetable oil. They're found in every bread, cracker, cookie, and cake on the planet, and they literally paralyze your immune system, reduce your function, and you know it. I mean, I grew up in the United States. We grew up on Coca-Cola, caffeine, and chocolate. And you know that if you eat like a couple of cupcakes out of a package, you know that it feels good going down, but in 15 minutes you're going to feel like you can't pick your head up. It's because the sugar and the processed and the artificial fats, they crush your immune system. They stop you from working properly. So stop eating that stuff. Get those bad fats out of your diet, I just mentioned, and put in good fats like extra virgin olive oil. Stop eating, I can't believe it's not food, or I can't believe it's not butter, or margarine. We know margarine's bad for us. Start eating avocados and using avocado oil, coconut oil, using like raw nuts and seeds and real butter. I mean, Kerrygold grass-fed butter, at least I know what's in that. Start using real butter. And the grass-fed meat, I could spend a whole workshop just on grass-fed beef. When you're in school, as a little boy, at least I don't know if they're learning this anymore, but if you're watching, comment. What do cows eat? I'll give you a second. Do cows eat corn? No. Cows eat grass. But we've now been marketed to that, corn-fed beef is better. You know what happens when cows eat corn? They get sick. Because it's like you eating fast food all the time. And it makes them sick. So what do they do instead? They feed cows steady streams of antibiotics and hormones to keep them feeling better. And it's not like they're all raised on a farm like Old MacDonald anymore, ladies and gentlemen. They're like in pens. I mean, it's the meat industry sometimes is brutal. So you understand they're eating a bunch of junky food, which to them is corn. They're feeding them all kinds of steroids and antibiotics to keep them healthy. And then that's the meat you're eating. Well, when you eat that meat, those cows are sick. They die sick. It makes you sick. Cows eat grass. If you remember, they have a 4-chambered stomach. I remember this from like first grade. And that's because grass is hard to break down, and they chew their cud, and it goes through all 4 chambers. When they eat grass, they're healthier. So when you eat grass-fed beef, it's healthier. Grass-fed beef has more omega fats in it than fish does. So you just look that up for yourself. And I think if you saw one of the talks I did recently in the community, one of the things that's missing, hey Judy, good to see you, hon. One of the things that's missing is critical thinking for ourselves, right? We take other people's word for it. I'm throwing a lot of stuff out to you in a 20-minute workshop. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to go look it up for yourself. And then make the decision that you think is best for your family. Don't just do what I'm telling you to do. Critically think for yourself. Look up grass-fed beef versus corn-fed beef. Look at how cows are treated nowadays. Just check it out. Let me know what you want to do. You don't have to do it now. So you're going to replace the hydrogenated oils with the extra virgin olive oil. By the way, if you cook with extra virgin olive oil, and Michelle asked this, she probably already knows it, you want to cook on low heat, not high heat. By the time the oil starts to smoke and turn black, it's rancid. You've ruined all the omega properties out of it, so low heat. And we talked about the oils. I don't need to continue to go there. One of the things that I think is important for supplementation, and this is just on a general level, is vitamin D, D like David. It's the #1 vitamin deficiency in the U.S. today. If we were to raise the minimum serum vitamin D level, or D3, to 60 nanograms per molecule, we prevent 58,000 cases of breast cancer, 49,000 cases of colorectal cancer, and 75% of the deaths from other diseases. This is from research Dr. Make sure I know, Edward Giovannucci. He's Harvard School of Public Health and Brigham Women's Hospital in Boston. So they've researched vitamin D. It protects against heart attacks. A study of the Journal of Geriatric Psychology and Neurology was revealed vitamin D could ward off the decline of mental function. Women who have a deficiency in vitamin D at the time of diagnosis with breast cancer are 75% more likely to die from it. So you should be taking vitamin D on a daily basis. One of the things, and you can read this research too, a good friend of mine, a local practicing medical doctor, I'll leave her name out just for the fact that she might not want me to share her name. We were having a conversation and she said one of the things they should be testing for right now is your vitamin D level in your bloodstream. Zinc is good too. Yeah, definitely, Michelle, I appreciate that. Zinc is good too, but vitamin D is responsible for immune function. They know that. And if you have a lot of adipose tissue or fat on your body, and this is not a judgmental thing, just be with me for a second, the vitamin D doesn't work properly because your fat cells absorb the vitamin D. So you need to take more vitamin D. So one of the tests they could be doing to see how good your immune system is functioning currently with the pandemic is testing to see what your vitamin D levels are and then prescribing vitamin D. You can see that in some of the research studies by the CDC that vitamin D levels going up helps fight COVID off if you contract it. But they're not doing that because they're not trying to do anything natural. Vitamin D gets absorbed by fat cells in your body, and so even if you're getting enough, your body's not getting it, so you need to get more vitamin D. And by that, if you are overweight, you need to lose weight so that the body can function properly. They know that decrease in vitamin D affects immune function, so vitamin D is important. One of the things I also talk about, and I take vitamin D on a daily basis, zinc is definitely good for you, Michelle. One of the things that we talk about in the office is curcumin. Now, curcumin, you guys probably know that it's a spice, but if you don't know this, it has the most evidence-based literature backing it as a use as a cancer support among all nutrients. So there's lots and lots of study on curcumin. It's anti-metastatic, which means if you're taking it, it doesn't allow the cancer cells to spread. It's anti-angiogenic, and it modulates cancer genes NFKB, AP1, JNK, and others. So it actually helps turn genes on and off. So curcumin as a spice you guys should be taking on a daily basis as well. It inhibits the proliferation of tumor cells, and it helps destroy mutated cancer cells so they can't spread throughout other parts of your body. And I started this whole message with inflammation. It actually decreases inflammation, which helps immune response. So even though I've been throwing stuff at you like cutting out bad fats, increasing grass-fed beef and chicken and fish and all that kind of stuff, cutting processed foods out, increasing vegetables in intake, that diet that I'm talking about is an anti-inflammation diet. I'm trying to get the inflammation out of your system. Plenty of omega fats, 3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. By getting the inflammation out, you decrease inflammation, you decrease cancer cell production, and you increase immune system function. That's what we're really discussing here. And so we need to know at the same time, vitamin D needs to go up and curcumin as well. Is it better to take a good multiple vitamin or individual vitamins? Peggy, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a great question. I take lots of different vitamins. I'd be more concerned with who's manufacturing your vitamins. So vitamins, if they're done properly, they should be made from food, and therefore they should go bad and spoil. So a lot of times people will buy bulk vitamins at Sam's or Costco or something on a shelf. I don't know how long they've been sitting on the shelf. Like the supplements we sell, we can only sell them for a certain time period, otherwise they lose potency. They have a shelf life like everything else because they're made from food. So it would be better to take individual vitamins, in my opinion, than a multi. but that depends on the dosage, and it also depends on who's manufacturing it. So if you have any other questions about that, but hopefully that leads. So I would be more concerned on whether, one, it's a natural food source the vitamin's coming from, or it's artificial, like made in a lab. And number two, how old it is before I take it. Like, I get a lot of patients that take fish oil every day, but they're getting their fish oil from like Sam's or Costco in bulk, and every time they eat it, it makes them burp and it tastes like fish. If when you eat that supplement it makes you burp, either something's wrong with your gallbladder, which is possible nowadays, or the fish oil supplement's gone rancid. And then I have people tell me, well, I freeze it, and like, don't do that, and then you're just pooping out in the end. So vitamin D, I hope that answered the question that probably made it worse. Vitamin D, curcumin. And then the last thing I want to just discuss quickly is what really got me into chiropractic care in the beginning was there was a study done in the 80s, I believe. I have to look up the exact study. Of course, I should have it in front of me now. But Dr. Ron Proof from NYU's medical school, and he showed that families under chiropractic care that get adjusted have immune systems that average about 300% above normal. And the reason that is because when you adjust the mid-spine between the shoulder blades, you spike something called interleukin, which is the way your immune system boosts up. They actually use synthetic interleukin with cancer patients to boost the immune system. So we know when you get adjusted between your shoulder blades, basically, in the upper back, in the lower part of the neck, or the upper shoulders in the mid back, that it boosts interleukin and boosts immune response. So every study done on this shows that it actually helps your body adapt to stress better, which is really what's happening. So the adjustments are helping your body adapt to stress, they're boosting interleukin, and they're helping you fight. So it's important, and then when you really start reading more studies on this, they start looking at posture as related to long-term health. Spine, which is one of the most prestigious medical journals on the planet, did a research study where they showed, like, if you get a hump on your back and you develop nursing home posture, it increases your mortality and shaves almost 15 years off your life. And that was a study from 2000, I believe, in 5. And then the Journal of the American Geriatric Society in 2004 showed that if your posture deteriorates and you get a hump on your back, it speeds up death as well, and actually affects your heart and your lung function because of compression. You can't breathe as deep because your diaphragm. It's just terrible for you to get those posture problems. So I started digging to see if there was other research that showed that getting adjusted helped over immune function. Because I know, like, people ask me all the time, like, I'm healthier at 48 than I was at 28, but I always watched what I ate, and I always exercised, I always did the basic stuff I do. I mean, I've learned things and I've adapted, but the thing I do more than ever is I get adjusted, and I know that getting adjusted is what's keeping me healthy and my wife healthy. I'm healthier at 48 than I was at 28 because I get adjusted, and I wish I could, teach everybody how powerful that is and how valuable that is, because nothing's more important than your health, and nothing's more important than the way you feel so you can take care of your kids. I have a 6-year-old and 8-year-old, and I'm 48, so I'm running around with them, I'm keeping up with them, I'm swimming, I'm jumping, I'm throwing balls. It's because I get adjusted. And then secondarily is all the nutritional protocols that I follow. I mean, I always did that. The adjustment was the biggest thing for me. So I looked it up. A couple studies. Reich, who's a medical doctor in 74, said that a decrease in blood flow from abnormal posture is a major factor in all disease. Decrease in curves like spinal position. This is Caliet from 1978, another medical doctor, says it affects heart, lungs, and digestive system. In 1979, there was an article by a medical doctor, Core, said faulty posture causes weak immune function, organ disease, muscle tension, and increased sensitivity to pain. And then the last one, which was the Spine journal from volume 30 of Spine, loss or decrease in spinal curves increases mortality. So getting adjusted is key, particularly in cancer prevention, because it boosts interleukin, your body adapts to stress better, and you can function better. And that's basically everything I have to say tonight. So just to rewind for people who are jumping on late, we want to make sure that you get adjusted. We talked about that. We want to make sure that you understand that your lifestyle is key in this situation. We want to make sure that you're decreasing the sugar, particularly the white refined sugar in your diet and your system. We want to make sure that you're increasing the omega fats, the healthy fats. You're increasing your water intake. If I didn't say that, you should be drinking about 3 liters of water a day or 6 bottles. We want to make sure that you are getting bad fats out and good fats in, that your diet is mostly green leafy vegetables, and that you understand your protein sources affected too. So grass-fed beef, chicken, fish, those are what you want to go with. And then supplement-wise, we want to make sure that we're using the vitamin D. right? Peggy asked what's the best way, greens, and we talked to Peggy offline. Peggy's my neighbor, so she's always really active, and it's a pleasure to have her on here, so I can talk to you in the neighborhood. And then the other thing that we talked about is vitamin D and then curcumin. So hope you got a lot of value out of tonight, and be looking for our next workshop. Our next workshop is going to be next month. I'll post the day that it's going to be. It's typically always on a Monday night, and the next workshop, I believe, is how the holidays shave 25 years off the end of your life. So it's an anti-stress workshop as we go into the holidays, because obviously we're rounding out October, we're going into November. So how the holidays shave 25 years off your life. It's not a depressive workshop, it's how to stress manage in the holidays. It's a pleasure to be with you guys tonight. I'm Dr. Christopher Hood. God bless you guys. I hope you learned a lot. Do me a favor with these videos, like them, share them with your friends so that we can make a difference in our community, and that together we can really make a difference. God bless you guys, and I will chat with you soon. 2 piggies.